Morning, everybody. You're welcome to the Daily Digest with Jimmy Diso. Luckily, this this time doesn't fall within the time that results will be coming in. So, I think we'll have a smooth sail. Okay, now so we all saw the elections that took place on Saturday, and of course there have been varied reactions. Most of them quite hot, to put it mildly. But so what I want to do in this session is to look at how the whole process was handled. Logistics. I'm not looking at the political side, but looking at the logistics of it. I believe that the INEC chairman, rather than being an academician, should be somebody who maybe has private sector experience, very well, very experience, and can get things moving in a much better way. Because as it is now, the best we can say, we can be looking at things like incompetence and so on and so forth. Whether there's been compromise is to be determined at a much later date. But surely no one will be satisfied with the way this exercise has taken place. So what we're going to do is I want to talk to two logistics specialists, and we'll look at the way the whole process and the whole exercise was handled. Questions you will ask, for example, okay, so you couldn't upload the servers at the appropriate time. You'll now be asking, okay, so in this kind of circumstance, which company did you contract this out to, or was it handled in-house? If it was handled in-house, did you have the real capacity? For example, it says that the beavers and uploading results needs just about 2G. I don't know if that is completely right or wrong, but that's what we hear. And so if you have multinationals, in the country who have this kind of competence, the questions we'll be asking is, who did you give this contract to, or why are you handling it in-house? Why didn't you give it to reputable? I've made a few calls around, and I know those are not given this responsibility. Okay, and so that's for sure. These are the things. Also, as it the transport modes. Okay, so there was a court injunction that you couldn't use the parks and garages, but was that the best that we could do? These are the questions we are going to ask our logistic specialists to find out how these things could have been done. I think we have one of them on the line. I don't know whether this is Mr. Ohaya Higbe or this is Mr. Adeni. Feta just stepped out to tidy up this call. So in the meantime, during this process, we'll be taking calls. Let me quickly tell you that now all calls are very, very sensitive. Nobody wants to throw a bomb in a burning fire. So let's watch our utterances very, very well. Okay, is that Mr. Ohai? Mr. Higbe? Okay. Hello, morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you? This is Mr. Higbe, right?
Yes.
How are you?
Very good, sir.
Good. I think it would be nice to know your experience so that when you talk, people actually know, the experience that you've had, and I think if you could just give us that for about 1 or 2 minutes.
Do you want me to discuss that with you now?
Yes, we're on air.
Okay.
You're live on air.
Okay. Fantastic. Yes. All right. So my background is Army intelligence,
okay.
And basically part of our role is more or less supervising the operations center. So in military operations, you always have an operations center, so we can collect and monitor all events logistically and in terms of gathering information in the field. Yes. So it's always a very complex operation, when you have military operations, because you're moving men, you're moving equipment. There's a lot of information that is coming in to the operations room. You're collating that. You're sending out information to people in the field as well. So there's a lot of dynamics in there. So I think that from an operations point of view, being able to, kind of coordinate things from that operational command and control center kind of might be the experience that I bring into this discussion.
Okay. So, but you're retired. I need to get that out of the way now.
Yes. I'm retired at the moment.
Oh, yeah, retired.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So nobody says that. Oh, he's an officer who is in service. That I'm
no. I'm retired. I run a risk management company.
Okay. Now, if we have something like elections, for example, we can see that we had a logistics problem. And I wonder if you want to comment on the bits that we know as far as logistics go. Ballot papers not getting there on time, transportation issues, and stuff like that.
Okay. So I would liken the operations to a military operation, which is very complex and multi-layered. I kind of try to review the number of locations that INEC needed to cover, and I've seen about 176,000 plus locations are scattered across the country. Now that's huge, and when you look at the time frame in which they must reach all those locations, that's why like for us in the military, you would always have a command and control center. You always have to have your communications in place, going back and forth. You also have to have your contingencies in place as well, because there will be issues. There are communication issues, there are fueling issues, there are security issues. So there are a lot of moving parts, and you must have those contingencies in place. We saw an incident where some of the operatives are kind of moving ballot materials on behalf of INEC were involved in a road transport accident. Those are some of the things that will happen, and then you need to have some kind of contingency to be able to recover any damaged vehicles, injured personnel, to be able to replace those as quickly as possible. Also to be able to communicate with the people at the polling units so that they understand exactly what is happening, because one of the problems that we would have, that's a major problem in these kind of operations, is lack of timely information, because information is critical, and the timeliness of that information is so important. So if you have any kind of delay, it's so important that the people at the polling units should have an idea of what the time lapse is and what the contingencies are in place, so they can specifically say to people, listen, we're having a 1 to 2 hour delay, so people understand what is going on. Because where people don't understand what is going on, then this leaves room for a lot of agitation, speculation, and which doesn't work well for the system at all.
Yeah, but some of the problems that we had in Lagos, for example, the REC had problem moving materials from their office in Yaba to VI, and there was about 2-3 hours delay. That is inexcusable, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. So like I said, I think what's most important is communication, isn't it?
Yes.
So if for whatever reason there might have been a delay, it's important that the people at the receiving end are informed on time, and they're also informed, what the estimated time of arrival, so they have an idea that, there's a 1 or 2 hour delay, and that can be communicated to people as well.
Well, when we talk about communications, surely deployment of walkie-talkies could also help in this matter, rather than relying on phones.
Well, what you would want to do in terms of communications, you want to have several layers, because I talked about contingencies. You want to have several layers because I'm a tech head, but I'm also very skeptical when it comes to tech, because tech is not a silver bullet. There are always going to be reasons why tech will fail. So you must have several layers that can deliver some kind of contingency in a situation where one aspect of your technology fails.
Do you think that the public sector, I know with the army there's a lot of discipline, but with public sector, do you think the area of logistics should have been farmed out to like a competent company or organization?
What I would suggest as a model, because when because of the sensitivity of this kind of operations, it's always going to be very difficult to completely contract it out to a third party, because definitely there are a lot of companies that have competence in these kind of complex logistical operations. But what I would have suggested is possibly embedding these companies that have those kind of resources into the INEC operations, and then you're able to ensure that there will be no tampering. Because one of the things that's most important in these operations is the transparency. Even though you want to be able to balance out transparency with security as well. Yes, and one of the things that I advocate for a lot is involving the public in a whole lot of these kind of operations, just to give it much more credibility, and also to be able to have complementary resources where those can be provided. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that it helps for the head of the organization to have a very good logistics experience? For example, I keep thinking that why would we have an academician, heading INEC? Don't you think, as the buck stops on his table, he should have the kind of experience you are talking about?
Not necessarily, but what I would say is that he should have a very strong logistical support. Now, one of the things that we do in military operations is we have dry runs. You always want to carry out exercises to kind of simulate the operations, because it's only when you have those simulations that you're able to troubleshoot possible problems, because on the day there are all kinds of issues that could kind of occur. So I think that if he has that support, the logistical support, and they carry out necessary training, sort of drills and exercises, also including the public. Sometimes with these dry runs, you let the public know, we're having a dry run because we have Electoral coming up. So in certain communities, this is what is going to be happening, and how people should be able to assist, if there's an issue. So I don't think that necessarily it needs to be somebody with a logistic background, because there are different sides to the roles in carrying out that position. I mean, there's the technological role as well, which we've seen has been an issue as well. And my background in computer forensics gave me a lot of concern there as well, because, like I've already stated, technical systems can have their own peculiar issues. So you need to be able to audit the systems well, to make those contingencies, because we've seen over the last few weeks that our networks have been overloaded. We're kind of heading towards a cashless policy, so we're finding out more and more people are migrating online. So definitely this will have a knock-on impact.
Could that be part of the reasons why we had uploading problems?
It could be, possibly, because all the traffic that's going through the cell towers. Now, when you look at NCC projections in terms of the number of people coming online every year, you'll find that there's going to be an acceleration, and those figures are going to completely change because of what has happened, with the new implementation of policy from the CBN. So you're having a whole lot more people, the POS people online. You're having a lot of people doing transactions online themselves. So definitely, there's going to be some kind of impact on the entire scene. So that technical landscape.
Do you suspect that the problem is from the back end? Not necessarily from their server. Do you think it's from the back end?
I think it's possible. It's possible. Nigeria is a huge country. NCC estimates, I think we have roughly about 145 million people that have subscribed to telecom services. Now, in some of those cases, we're looking at people that have 2 SIMs. But even if you still have that number, you have a huge number of people that are online, so you have to be able to accommodate the service. Now, if we had a dedicated transmission service like a satellite service, that's backing up all of these operations, then you'll find out that it will be able to deal with a whole lot more of the traffic easier. So it was a very bold move by INEC, in my opinion, to be able to roll this out nationwide. Because I would have expected that we would have been able to test this system at that scale, or before getting to that scale, to be able to troubleshoot. But at the end of the day, I think we still have to consider the fact that INEC was still able to go ahead and hold an election when there was a lot of speculation going forward that the election might not even hold because of some of the issues that were happening in the society around that period.
But if there were problems with network issues, surely you wouldn't have been on that Saturday that INEC would have discovered that. Like you said, they could have done test runs and so on and so forth. And then get the public ready, to say that, sorry, these are the problems we have, but this is how we are going to go around it. That would have helped, don't you think?
Yeah, completely. And that's why I painted the scenario of the command and control. Now, in the command and control room, for instance, you can break it into sectors, you might have a sector that you dedicate to the public so that the public can have that, kind of bird's eye view of what's going on. Because it's a little unrealistic for us to assume that we're going to have a whole operation carried out without error. What we should have expected would be a margin of error.
Yes.
We always have to be able to build that in, the margin of error. So is it an acceptable margin of error, or is it total chaos? So I would have loved to have a subunit within their command and control center, several subunits actually. So you have one subunit possibly that's collating all the information that is coming in, that things that are occurring in the field, and how they're sharing that information with those that need to get them, and how those contingencies are being put into place. And then most importantly, that interface with the public, with the general public, so they can also keep track. Because of technology that's available to us now, it's so much easier to be able to get this information and then process that and pass that out to people, because of some of the antecedents, with these electoral processes, people are very skeptical. So the way to build that confidence is that seamless information flow. So where people are monitoring, I know that they did create a portal where people could access the results, but then I think at the same time, one of the things that would have been important is to be able to confirm deliveries to people so people can actually see what's happening. So to this polling unit, to this one, 2 hours behind, delays, so people can appreciate the magnitude of this operation. It's a huge operation to carry out and complicated across different terrains.
Okay, sorry I called you Mister, because I just occurred to me when I got your name yesterday. I didn't ask the rank at which you retired.
Okay, I retired as a captain. I retired as a captain. So yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's fine. Thank you very much.
God bless you, Captain. So thank you so much. And
it's a wonderful privilege to be on your show. I do follow your show, and thanks a lot for everything that you've done so far.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers.
Good. That was Captain Ohaya Higbe, a logistics specialist, retired from the army, giving us an idea of how best we could have done this. It's not it's not all exhausting. You'd never get that, but at least it sets us thinking. I'll take one or two calls very quickly now before we take a break. I think I can take just about one call. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good evening.
Morning.
After all the things are done, we are seeing most of all these things human, like where I voted.
Yes.
This is Tony from Abuja.
Yes.
Where I voted, the presidential was only the problem we have in all these areas.
Yes.
The House of Rep will go, we upload. The Senate will upload, but when it comes to presidential, it will not upload. That means there's something there. That is what is following the suspicion. That is my own take on it.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we had a bit of that. But let's see. Let's all at least be patient for now and see how this is unfolding. It's not going to be easy. It's going to demand a lot of patience from all of us and a lot of cooling down, strategic thinking on everybody's part as to how we move forward with what we have. We're in a jam. Definitely we're in some kind of jam. But I hope that the good Lord will see us through like He has seen us through in other crises. Can I take one more call? No, I can't. Okay, so I'll take a break now. And when I come back, I'll be speaking to Mr. Denny, another logistics specialist, and we'll be running almost the same questions through him. So don't go away, we'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Abdul. My friends ask me how I stay updated with current happenings around me despite my busy work schedules. That's my secret. Everywhere I go, my radio goes with me. In the morning on my way to work, and even in the office. I'm always tuned in to 99.3 Nigeria Info. It keeps me going through the craziness of my everyday. My radio is my best friend. My radio is 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Hello, my name is Ronke from Ikorodu.
Hi, I'm Emeka from Fesa. My name is Ahmed from Apapa.
I want to tell you about my radio. My radio is my best friend.
My steady companion.
My radio keeps me informed
all day long with hot topics, trending news,
politics, and current affairs.
My radio gives me the best music.
My radio is Nigeria Info.
Everybody in Nigeria listens to Nigeria Info.
The only detergent that keeps me bright and fresh. I know the waste time to wash. I thought my clothes have the best, so why go less? You can't wash a lot with a little Viva. Use Viva. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money. Use Viva. Viva, oh Viva. I love my Viva. Don't need no other. I love my Viva forever. Viva, oh Viva. I love my Viva. Don't need no other. I love my Viva forever. Viva, I love my Viva. Don't need no other. I love my Viva forever.
Viva detergent, a quality cleaning powder from Aspira.
Charles, I notice you barely use this your cute vehicle.
This is all I have. I have to be gentle with it.
Then list it on Urban Fleet app. You can rent to decent users and recover the money invested on your car. Still in doubt? You can use your rental calculator to see what you can earn. Get the Urban Fleet app on your app store and on www.urbanfleet.biz.
Get up to 10% off on your UBA card when you treat yourself and your loved ones with delicious meals from Jumia Food, tasty desserts from Nuts About Cakes, a staycation from Aura by Transcore Hotels, and a possible learning experience with U Lesson. Enjoy SACPA-free love on UBA. This offer is valid from 13th to the 28th of February 2023. Terms and conditions apply. UBA, Africa's global bank.
So special to us, golden more. So special to us. I can't afford a day without this goodness in the bowl. Giving energy to make it stay golden. Golden more. So special to us.
Babe, you've barely eaten anything. What's wrong?
I'm trying to be careful because I'm not sure of the facilities here.
Oh, I understand. But don't worry. Ernest is your guy.
Ernest? Who's Ernest?
Ernest Liver Salt is your ultimate run-to product that gives fast and effective relief from heartburn, constipation, and indigestion. It dissolves fast and works even faster. It comes in delicious orange, lemon, and plain flavors.
In that case, waiter!
Ernest Liver Salt, your surefire solution to stomach discomfort. Available in all pharmacies nationwide.
Some are calling Group B the Group of Death as they beg to differ Tournament of Champions. Hamid Olarawaju is a past quarter-finalist and finalist and has only ever been beaten by champions. He wants revenge against Amvita Kaushik and Esther Bewaji, but first, he must make it out of this group. Redemption is also calling for Ramadan Oladipo, the people's champion. Beaten in a controversial semi-final, he's here to prove that maybe he should have been in this group as an actual champion. But that title belongs to Ruth Okorocha. She beat the debater who beat Ramadan. Can she beat him too? Find out this March at the I Beg to Differ Tournament of Champions on 99.3 Nigeria Info and Wazobia Max TV.
There is a huge difference between the relative experience of salary earners and those of business owners and entrepreneurs. Someone who has never had cause to set up a business of his, who has never had cause to source for funds, turn it around, pay salaries, pay back the loan, and still make profit cannot be expected to be hands-on when saddled with an economy the size of Lagos. Experience that hasn't curbed Lagos's traffic in 24 years of their reign. Experience that hasn't addressed Lagos's perennial flood. Experience that currently leaves us with over 2 million out-of-school children. The duo of Jando and Funke have been investing in Lagos's economy for about 2 decades, running their personal businesses, employing peoples with track records of success. Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jando as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
This is Daily Digest with Jimmy Dissy.
You're welcome back, and remember from 11 o'clock you'll get a sense of some of the other results that are coming in. Like I said, I want to talk to Mr. Soji Adeniyi. Is he online? Morning, Mr. Adeniyi. How are you? Hello?
Hello.
Morning, Mr. Adeniyi. How are you?
I'm great. And you?
Well, I'm a bit.
We are all great in Nigeria as we speak today because we are full of anxiety.
Yes, and you see, what upsets me the most is how 60-something years after independence,
we're still
struggling. We can't manage. I had thought that, to be honest with you, I remember the days of Option 4,
Option
A4 that produced, and I thought, okay, so we'd gotten around all that.
Yes.
Only to find ourselves. And then even during the Jonathan time,
I tell you,
we thought that only where we are now is we've gone like 2-3 decades backwards. But do you agree that I won't talk about the sabotage part because there's nothing to prove whatever anybody might think now, and it's always good to talk, with some proof. But surely, I believe that there was some logistics incompetence and problems along the line. And so my first question to you would be to ask you what you thought of the whole exercise from a logistics standpoint. I'd like to give you enough time to expatiate on what your thoughts are.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Isu. I think first and foremost, we need to understand that Nigeria is not a local government. It's not a state government. It's a very huge mass of space. In fact, it is 932,768 square kilometers in land mass. And of course, each time all of us speak, we speak about 774 local governments.
Yes.
As if we're talking about moving from Ikeja to Jodu local government, or from Victoria Island to Etiosa local government.
Yes.
And that's the picture that most of our youth have, because they have not traversed the huge expanse that we have in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Last December, I was traveling from Abuja to Damaturu in Yobe State. and I flew because there was no flight to. Normally, I would fly straight to Maiduguri and then drive to Damaturu.
Yes.
But there was no flight, so I flew to Gombe. And on getting to Gombe, I took a car hire from Gombe, and we drove between Gombe and Potiskum, which is the borderline into Yobe State. We drove for 7 hours.
Wow.
A very, very bad road. Very, very bad road. The highest speed my driver could make at this best stretch of the road was at about 70, 80 kilometers per hour. That's the best speed he could do safely. Now, between Potiskum and Damaturu was a very smooth road, but it was full of, soldiers, what do you call it? Checkpoints. I counted about 17 checkpoints. This was like 100 kilometers, trip that should have at the best be like 1 hour, 20 minutes. But we spent another 3 hours because we had to stop at every checkpoint. You understand? So logistically, even if no checkpoints were encountered by the people that are going to deliver results for us, moving from the different parts of the country to the center point, because remember that each palm of logistics is made up of as many hands as possible. For instance, let me just give you an average trend from that polling unit where you made your vote. Someone is going to physically check the entire document in that into a ward. From a ward, they would go into a local government. Then it is from the local government that they would go into the state government secretariat. And then it is after it has been collected at the state government secretariat that they begin to move physically into Abuja to the International Conference Center for what they call the National Coalition. Now, logistically, if you look at this description that I gave you around urban, semi-urban, rural, riverine, and we have everything in Nigeria when it comes to the landscapes that you can think about logistically. It is a huge, huge, huge challenge. Some you will need, boats. Some you will need helicopters. Some you would need, normal flights. Some you will need chartered flights because those states are not covered by commercial flights before you can make it to the center. So this is a huge, huge, huge logistics nightmare. Now, could they have done it better? Was the whole essence of saying, let's use technology. Yeah. But we also need to understand that technology also has logistics interface. Each time all of us are, on the phone, like you're calling me, I'm in Abuja, and you're in Lagos in the studios, and you're calling me, and we're speaking to ourselves as if, we're just next door. Yes. But if we decide to change now, and you connect me on Zoom, and video comes in between me and the studio, there will be a completely, a complete change in the quality of our discourse, because the volume and the amount of data that we will now be consuming in order to transmit the video will automatically change. And it will not be dependent on my device or your device. It will be dependent on a third-party system, which is the mast in front of your station or somewhere around your station, and the mast somewhere around my office here. And then, of course, it will also depend on the number of people around me at this time that are trying to connect. My house is very close to the International Conference Center, so I can imagine the amount of data that is hanging around the International Conference Center, and I won't be surprised if the internet service providers are giving them something more in that space now because of, the obvious reason. So I think if you ask me, you should be upset, yes, but please understand that Nigeria is a very peculiar case. If we're talking of 774 local governments, registration areas is 8,809, polling unit is 176,846. So it is not easy.
Okay.
Honestly,
so can we then deduce that we probably were not ready? We didn't have the capacity for uploading and for beavers.
I think I'm not an IT professional to that core. I'm a logistics person.
Yes.
But if you ask me IT wise, I would say that when you try something on 1, 2, 3, 4 platforms, and then it's becoming 36 plus 1. Definitely your trial on 1, 3, 4, 5, which is the trial that we had in Edo election, in Osun election, in Ekiti election, they are insignificant compared to what 36 plus 1 was going to upload. Because if you look at all the total number of polling units or the number of local governments in all of those states, even those who did simultaneously, I think there are only 2 situations where it was almost simultaneous, but there was none that was on the same day, same time, everybody trying to upload.
But having said that, couldn't we have done 1 or 2 or 3 test runs?
That's where I think that there's a big logistics failure, because even if we decide to do what they call dry runs, just one night decide that everybody because INEC has presence in all the local government through the state electoral commission, so
yes.
They could have thrown the beavers around those locations and try to upload and see the speed that they get, or the capacity of the servers to receive them simultaneously, and all of that, because those are things in logistics that we call dry runs, and those dry runs are you do it in 3 phases. You do something that you assume that there will be overload. You assume that there will.
Hello. Well, we have a glitch here. Hello. 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 Okay, we'll try. Hello. We'll try and see if we can.
The highest that we have seen is about 12 hours of downtime.
Yeah.
Understand? And Twitter, they do both video, they do voice, they do everything, simultaneously, globally, and we've seen them run. So I don't know, with almost 400 billion that we got for this election, I don't know how much was assigned to the IT interface, but I don't think that they did a good job. I think that's what's giving us.
Do you think that they contracted out that function or tried to handle it themselves? Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I didn't hear that.
I was saying that. Do you think that that function, the IT function, was contracted out to specialists in that field, or they tried to do it in-house?
No, they confirmed to us all the time that it was in-house. In fact, the beavers was developed in-house, according to INEC. So they actually tried to avoid a situation where a third party will influence or interfere in the process. So they decided to do it in-house. So this is a failure of the in-house system. I don't think there is if it has been a contractor, we'll have had heads being called out by now.
Well, going forward, do you think they would then have the capacity, to run this? And I'm asking, for example, I'm thinking we do have telecoms companies
Yes.
and internet providers. Could any one of them, well-grounded, have handled this better in your own view?
I think that we shouldn't mix data itself, which is what the service providers do. They simply put the mast out there,
yes.
They put so that you can have connection. It's completely different from when you talk about providing a service, which is what the database and the servers and the beavers are supposed to do. It's like holding a palm held device, and you're sending messages to your laptop and all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge system, and I don't think that it is not with there's no way. I didn't hear it that INEC had their own satellites, for instance, to provide data for these operations. No, I think they relied on the regular service providers, the 3 main service providers in Nigeria who has coverage across the entire country. And I think that up to this moment, even when the chairman was talking last night, was still talking about their engineers, expanding the scope of the servers and trying to make sure that the uploads, go. But what you just said now brought to my mind to the latest internet, idea that the world has moved into. I mean, that's the one that is being used even in a war-torn country like Ukraine, where almost all their systems are down, but they are able to connect internet. And I thought we could have, used that, even if it is for the purpose of, the internet cover for that particular period, because I think that's already being launched in Nigeria as we speak. So using our traditional ones may have, not necessarily been the best option for us. Or worst case scenario, I will have, in logistics terms, said there should be best case scenario, most likely scenario, and worst case scenario. So best case scenario for me would be we have all the traditional service providers, then we have, this other international global player comes in and provides a backbone, and then we would have been able to say, okay, it failed in this area with the locals, but the international came in and helped us. And it wouldn't have been so much, different, because the aim of the guy is to bring down the cost.
Yes.
He's been saying all over the world that he wants to make sure that the costs are affordable to the average citizen,
Well, talking about costs, just before I let you go, talking about costs, people have said that, because, there's some agitation led by who, President Obasanjo, that we should do a rerun of some areas on Friday or thereabouts. And I'm of the view that if you did the rerun any time in the next 3 months, you probably end up getting the same result. If it's a systems failure.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm thinking maybe we should devise some other means that is not so complex. Let's admit to ourselves that we don't have the capabilities for what we want to do. And then, of course, then there's this idea. People are saying, oh, no, it's going to cost too much. But I say, no cost is too much for us to have peace in the land. My experience of all this, I don't like where this might be headed. As somebody who's been through this almost now times without number.
Yes,
these things
could go. From the days of Obafemi Awolowo and the North.
Yes, as somebody who's seen all that happen. The crisis doesn't benefit anybody
at all.
It doesn't even
100%. In fact, that is why I was a little bit shocked at the position of the former president yesterday night.
Yes.
I thought what we should be getting from people like him were, calm. Let's just wait. Let's see the results of this, and let's go to court if we're not happy. Those are the kind of words that are supposed to come out from elder statesmen. It was really, really not the right kind of, encouraging words that we heard from His Excellency last night. And I'm just hoping that somehow, the powers that be will also just take it in their stride, and they would not unnecessarily, hit up the polity. It's unfortunate that when things like this happen, some of them choose to take sides rather than staying neutral. If he had been neutral, that call last night will have been much more effective. But the fact that he hadn't been...
Which call is that now, please?
The call by the former President Obasanjo.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes, I'm saying that he's not a neutral player in this game because he actually publicly endorsed the candidate. And the fact that he endorsed that candidate means that he has sentiments for that candidate. So whatever he's saying now, pretending to be, just in the interest of Nigeria, may not be seen like that by both the followers of that particular, candidate and the opposition as well.
Well, I agree with you, but just to say that what it is what it is. You've concluded the elections. At the time to announce the results, you're not uploading. Beavers has failed. Something surely needs to be done. Maybe a private phone call to the gentleman or a private letter to
Absolutely.
the president. Maybe. Okay, I'll keep you out of the politics so that you can... Thank you very much. I hope at a later date we can have you again, okay?
Anytime, my
God
brother.
bless you.
All the best.
All the
Enjoy
best.
the rest of your day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. Okay, so that's you've heard that, and of course he concluded on the political note. So we'll take your calls again, and please don't let's get too emotional. At this time, everybody just needs to calm down. Really, you just need to calm down. Abusing people, insulting people, banging the table. Somebody called out this morning, and I need to warn that person and people like him to be extremely careful. All calls are monitored. He was calling that we should. You don't talk like that on radio, okay? This is very, very important. All calls are monitored. So if there's any that appears to be a threat, I can assure you that the needful will be done to that person, and you don't need it. The same also applies to threats. You don't need these things. Those of you on the social media too need to be very careful. Make your point without threats, without abuse. People who are monitoring these things are even beyond this country. All eyes are on Nigeria now, and everybody, those concerned will be taking records of what everybody is saying. Because I hope this doesn't go to a point that has occurred to me. And then some people will be held responsible for fueling a crisis. I hope that we can resolve this peacefully. So when you do call in, you need to, watch what you say. Okay? So let's pick, I think we can take about 2-3 callers. Two callers actually. That have to be out of here. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Uncle Jimmy, I'm so sad, actually.
Yes.
I'm so sad, and I'm sorry that they kept on telling us to cool down, cool down, cool down.
Yes.
Okay,
like that. Don't worry.
Please, it's just like that. We need somebody to tell us not going to be like that. That's all
I'm
we
telling
need.
you now, it won't be like that, okay? Let's take the next caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Gaju.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning. I just want to talk about this election. Hello?
Go on, madam. You're running time,
It has been a long time Igbo have never ruled for this country.
No, I'm sorry, I won't take that now. The times are too sensitive for that kind of contribution. I know, yes, everybody wants to express themselves, but, let's just keep things cool. Okay, so let's keep it, to what is safe. So I'm sorry, madam, I have to overrule you on that. Okay, hello, good morning.
Yeah, Uncle Jimmy, good morning.
Morning.
First, let me make my points. Uncle Jimmy,
yes.
6 times 6 is 36. We have 36 in this country. Why not INEC in a week select 6 states, 3 in the north, 3 in the south, and move their materials and enough security and conduct election with the party's representatives and take records and send it in Abuja. Then INEC will take records, the representative will take records, then the result will be announced. Then the next week, send other 6 states, then election will be conducted, and those polling units will take record, then APC, PDP, and other parties will take their own records in the presence of everybody. Send it to Abuja for the announcement. Okay. Why is it that after we support those things, it takes almost a week to announce the election? How do we believe? How do we have confidence that our election, that our votes are not rigged?
Okay, thank you very much. The import of what the last caller is saying, or what the gentleman is saying, is that, given what the 2 gentlemen we spoke to about logistics, maybe we should have a system where we spread because of capacity, we spread the elections. That's not such a bad idea, except that the politicians won't want to sign into that. Being because if you have an election, in one area, and by the time you go for the election in another area, knowing the results of that area, it might affect people's voting pattern. But I think there must be a middle ground. From what these 2 people have spoken, it appears to me as if that we have a capacity problem. And this is what I would say. Until you're sure that you have the capacity to do this, please, 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 don't jump the gun. Okay? I like the suggestion that he made, and from a simple standpoint, it makes sense to me. Also, the problem also, if you would allow them keep the results until when you've gone through maybe the 4 zones or whatever it is, then you can collate and whatever. If we'll be patient enough for that, maybe we should look at that. Why is it that the only election that was not contentious, even though at announcement it was annulled, was the option A4? Crude as it is, it produced a result. On this note, I'd like to end. Thank you for listening. I'll be back again tomorrow at 9 o'clock, okay? So see you then. Bye.
Have your say in what we say.
You always make good points.
We talk the talk, and walk the walk. We are 99.3.
You talk, we listen.
Nigeria Info.
Hello, my name is Abdul. My friends ask me how I stay updated with current happenings around me despite...
I want to assume that you would run because I want to give the listeners context for the conversation.
In 2019, you were running mate to Atiku Abubakar. What did you learn then that you will not repeat this time?
Yes, when is the president coming out to address us?
There's a few things. One, I have a burden and a passion for young people.
The fact that you have elected a man does not mean then you begin to order him around. The president will do whatever is good for the country at any given time.
Mr. Adeshino, isn't the president responsible to the people?
What should the next president do to root out stakeholders who are complicit?
You fire those that need to be fired are fired.
It's looking like a brand new Chelsea, attacking with so much fluidity. And what can you say about that, Martin? I know you follow Chelsea quite closely.
I live close to the Chelsea training ground. That's what you mean by that. I'm not a